Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first ever Father's Day fire-fueled foul play date with Drake's Brewing and HenHouse Brewing. My name is Sarah Pietrkowski. I'm the head of sales at HenHouse Brewing. And what we're doing today is the socially distant, over-the-internet version of an event called Brewers on the Hot Seat that we've been doing for about 5 years at various beer weeks. Brewers on the Hot Seat started at Hogg's Apothecary when two of my coworkers, Danny and Travis, got a bunch of brewers together. I asked them questions. We ate really hot wings. We drank a lot of beer, and it got a little beer. Two people who participated in all 5 editions of Brewers on the Hot Seat are myself and John Galooly of Drake's Brewing. So today, for the first ever internet edition of this event, it's going to be John and I virtually joining one another with a whole lot of beer and a whole lot of Scoville units. So we've got a couple of folks here to help us. I'm going to toss it to John real quick to introduce himself. But right before that, I'm going to let you know that this entire time I'm going to be drinking Flyway Pills, courtesy of Drake's Brewing, to try to help me with the intense heat of these wings. Welcome. What are you drinking?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Sarah. This is John Galooly, the socially distant brewmaster of Drake's Brewing Company. Hanging out here, getting ready to burn my face off with some spicy chicken wings, drinking some Best Life Blonde, courtesy HenHouse. I actually think this will do a pretty good job of cooling the wings down. I kind of thought about punking those guys and sending them, say, a beer that wasn't going to help them very much, but I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be that big a dick yet.
I'm Chelsea. I do digital content at Drake's. I run our social media and now, I guess, virtual events. And I'm cracking open my favorite beer from HenHouse Brewing Company, a fresh Saison.
Hi, I'm Anna. I work for HenHouse. I do all the social media as well as marketing, and I will be drinking the Pilsner as well and will not be eating any hot wings.
I'm not doing hot wings either. Cheers, folks.
Cheers.
So are you gents ready for your first round?
I got them staged.
Damn right.
All right,
Okay.
people, this is my dinner, so I'm in. Wave this chicken wing at the camera.
Let's do this. Round 1.
This is the classic hot sauce from the folks at the Heatiness. Apparently, how many Scoville units we dealing with here, Galooly?
I want to say this one was like 2,100. So, it's sort of reminiscent of just your basic, like, Frank's, Trapeze, Cristal, like a Louisiana sauce. It's actually pretty fucking good.
Hold up. Did you just make Crystal hot sauce into Cristal champagne?
Yes, I did. Because I'm classy like that, man.
I can
You know
tell.
I'm
I can
classy.
tell you wanted to level it up. So while we're eating, it is Father's Day, and that had me think about kind of generational nature of breweries. And if you wouldn't mind, because you have quite the illustrious professional biography, I'd like to hear a little bit of just kind of your professional biography, your story within brewing, but with a focus on, man, I'm already choking, with a focus on what got you into it, who've been sort of your fathers or your parents, your influences throughout, and if, I don't want to date you, but if you're already seeing some folks take after you, follow in your footsteps, as it were.
Well, I appreciate the term illustrious career. I'm on my 9th brewery in 25 years, so I like to refer to myself as serially unemployable.
Right.
Before Drake's, I never lasted at a brewery more than 2 years. I was very bouncy early in my career, but I can dig into that. But I kind of want to get to the start of your question about the generational thing, because I started brewing in 1995, and that was there was a distinct turning point happening in the industry at that point in time. You had your first rounds, like the Mendocinos, the Red Hooks, the Sierra Nevadas, the Anchors, and that was a very different crowd. Like that first wave of brewers, almost none of them really were like brewing school guys. They were like enthusiastic home brewers very, very like, Jedi shit, making their own equipment out of like milk kettles and stuff, because you couldn't just order anything. There was nothing like that you could just buy on the internet or shit. Like now I could buy all sorts of wacky things, all sorts of different sizes and scales, but there were no micros. So these guys like invented everything, and their primary motive, as best like their big thing was they fucking hated corporate beer. They were just so sick. And these were all guys who like traveled to Europe and tasted real beer, and they come home and all you can get is fizzy yellow ABC. And so that first wave of brewers was like just a reaction against corporate beer. Very much from a homebrew mentality. I feel like Charles Papazian like really was the primary brewer of the first wave there. Sorry, I'm gonna take a bite now. Mm-hmm. I filibustered for a second there.
Depending on that, how did you see that show up in the beers, right? Like, can you distinguish drink from a brewer of that class and a brewer of your generation?
Well, they like one. So this is like just kind of a thread of the entire picture, but I enjoyed chasing this down a little bit anyway. The first wave of brewers like hated adjuncts, putting corn in beer, putting like anything like that in beer. Like fucking, that was just like, that's fucking corporate beer bullshit. I've actually brewed both at Mendocino Brewing Company and Red Hook, and I can tell you the recipes for Red Hook ESB and Mendocino Red Tail Ale are almost the same. There's like some minor differences in yeast and everything, but it's like 2-row and caramel malt, Cascades, and off to the races. So like there was like but again, also reflective of the fact that there weren't a lot of ingredients around. It's almost hard to judge those 80 like first generation guys. They had like 3 hops. I've looked at some of the 89 brew logs from Drake's, and I'm just like, those recipes are wild, man. They had access to nothing. So you can kind of tell those old recipes just by the fact that the palette that they had to play with was limited. So as I started coming in, hop growers are starting to catch up with the industry. Other malt companies were starting to be like, oh, these small breweries are worth selling shit to. So we started getting access to things that the first wave just didn't have.
And how did that, like, so then if you, that like would create a huge, you couldn't make the contemporary double IPA without adjuncts, right?
No, I mean, it's funny, like, and big beers in general weren't a big thing back then. My first job was at Red Hook in 1995, and I want to say the biggest beer we did on any regular basis was like an imperial stout with coffee. I can't think of anything else there that was like more than 5-6%. I think that was very typical of that industry. And then, again, you have like 5 hops in your hop cooler if you're lucky. You're not even working on a double IPA until the late 90s when you're starting to get some of that next generation like Columbus hops and like just some of the more, I would say like end of the 90s is when Simcoe popped up, YCR 15 and just, stuff like that. And, that was like, so I would say our Gen 2 there, we started pushing things, but it was also because we had access to ingredients that the first gen didn't have.
So then, on the other side of that, the telltale sign of your generation is wider palette of ingredients, more willingness to ingredients that might have been seen as verboten from sort of a purist.
Yes.
What about? Is there another moment where you can be like, this brewery's brewer came into this like well after? Telltale sign for that?
Oh man, I just think especially like now, like the newer generation, they have so many toys to play with. They have so much equipment to play with. You could buy so many things off the shelf. Like we had to invent like processes and stuff like that just to kind of like keep the industry going because there weren't that many small producers. The ingredient chains were still constantly being evolved. I think now it's like a kid's toyland, and these guys are just making anything they feel like. I don't know, because I think there's a bit of a backlash situation going on too, kind of like simultaneously between like in new breweries. There's like the new brewers who are just like, milkshake lactose, chocolate imperial, IPA stout. And then there's the ones who are like kind of reactionary to that are still like new gen people. So I don't know. I can tell a new brewery when I go and taste. There's some beers that like will tip me off, like, oh, this is just out of the homebrew shed. Like, do you guys know Flatlands up in Sacramento? Fucking love those guys. They're crazy ass. They could not have existed 10 years ago. They brew wild. They're just out of there, man. Older guys?
Why do you say what specifically prevented them from operating or from having a place in the market 10 years ago?
No, give me that again. I need to internalize that question a little bit.
So you said Flatlands wouldn't have existed 10 existed 10 years ago? Like put a finer point, like why?
Because it's like it's small batch after small batch after unique batch after unique batch, and I think the consumer has now evolved over the last few years to, you've heard ticker culture, right? Like 10 years ago we still had flagships. 10 years ago we still tried to brew the same beer over and over again, and would occasionally roll some one-offs out. And now that, like, if your model is every beer is different, I don't know how that would have flown 10 years ago because nobody was trying it really.
Right, and that gets in a little bit of consumer behavior. Like, is that relationship to your customer even possible if you aren't sliding a really large portion of what you make across your own bar?
I don't know how much a portion of HenHouse's business goes across your tasting rooms, but our tasting rooms, that's a lot of our, we send a lot of beer to our tasting rooms, and it's almost like we have a very bifurcated model where we're selling beer, we're putting pallets on trucks to go to grocery stores, and that's a different customer demographic than the people who are coming to us. We're like, the grocery stores are getting, well, they're getting a shit ton of DNOG is what they're getting for the most part because everyone wants to get drunk right now. But, the tasting rooms have traditionally been where we roll runoffs off, and they get like, people, that's where people want something different every week. I find consumer trends really interesting, honestly, and God knows what's happening with them now. I'm drinking some more of your this week, quite as I thought it would be. I kind of thought it would be ketchup. It's got a little bit of a kick. Not like sweaty or anything, but.
How dare you? Actually, yeah, I thought this sauce was delicious. Actually, I would keep this around the house. It's real good.
So no luck on.
Yeah, just
not too bad.
To expand on the point you're making, one of the things like HenHouse kind of toes that line because we have a rotating IPA that goes to grocery stores there, but it's always the same price. It's always the same UPC, and it's similar enough to the last one that we can count on the same customer enjoying it, but it is in fact a different beer, right? So it's a little bit between, like, come out taste room and see what's new and try it and see if you like it and pick on the one you like, and then the other side, customers be able to go where they're used to buy and get something they know they're going to love every time, but try to add some dynamism to that experience. So it's kind of like half and half.
Yeah, and I think that's the comfortable place to be, and I think that's how you thread the needle, right? I certainly like seeing seasonal rotators go through groceries and things like that. But again, different demographics, different markets, man. They're definitely. You go to the grocery store, a lot of times you're comfort shopping. I haven't bought beer at a grocery store in a long time, so I actually don't really know what those people want in any kind of internal way. I just kind of read about it.
Yeah.
Burp.
No, it's been a great, pleasant surprise for me, right? Like I come from in these like rarefied, fancy beer bars, how much just the person whom beer is groceries can get on board with like new and different stuff and have like a dynamic and fun and every beer experience with us has been super encouraging. Not even just like the quote unquote high grocery shopper you might expect. We're seeing it from at Safeways and Dilly's too. It was really, really exciting for us. I think we're getting your rings are gone, right, John?
My wings are gone. Yeah, I mean, I could if I was a thorough person, I could still pick something off there. But I got the hot part.
My plate is clean.
Sweet.
We move on to the next.
All right. Fantastic.
Well, that was exciting.
So I feel like they started off by saying that none of these sauces were going to be spicy. And I think now that they're getting into it, they're realizing that there's like a little bit of heat to it. So I'm really excited for the next 2 rounds.
John's comment about how he thought it'd be ketchup, and he's actually starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
I like what they had to say about like one-offs versus flagships. Question for you, Anna. Mm-hmm. Do you buy more flagships or one-offs? Like if you went to a brewery, would you want to try something that you'd always had or something that is brand new to you?
So I think kind of what Galuli said, I don't go out and buy beer a lot. We both work for breweries that, provide us with plenty of beer.
We're pretty lucky.
But generally like if I'm going to a store, I kind of stick to, I guess, more of those like go-tos, like what I would know.
It's good sauce.
So yeah, I really like the trying one-offs, but I guess as a consumer, I'm a little bit more scared to try them. Like if I were at the grocery store or if I couldn't actually like go and try it at like the actual brewery itself.
Committing to a $22 4-pack of something that I don't know if I'm going to like isn't necessarily an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. Exactly.
I shop based on style a lot, though. Like, maybe I'll give that money off to a brewery that I like for a style that I like, just to try it.
Yeah, and I definitely have, like, that brand loyalty to certain breweries that are outside of HenHouse or Drake's. And so I'm a little bit more willing to try those breweries compared to maybe a brewery that I haven't had, but I'm like, oh, that beer kind of sounds interesting. But again, $22 is a pretty big investment for a beer that you haven't had yet.
At the grocery store and something like this costs $7 a piece. I'm like, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. That's an expensive.
Well, should we check back in with the guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
Time for round 2 then.
I'm going to let you start CALIENTES. Because I want to make based on listening to the flagship beers and when you're at the brewery. One of the first things that I've done, especially if they're like native to the East Bay, and when I want to try to hammer home to them how seriously we take second half quality, goal of everything we do at wholesale is to replicate the flavor of our beer. If you could walk into one of our tasting rooms, I want the beer that you buy at a grocery store in Contrast County to taste exactly the same. So one of the things that I do is I take them in, and I know they know 1500, right? Everybody in the East Bay drinks tons of 1500, and we go and have a 1500 at dealership. I'm just like, I bet you this beer tastes even better than you're used to, right? And just being able to experience that beer like brewer intended, a brewery fresh condition, has been a light bulb moment for more than one of my East Bay employees. So it's actually a Drake's beer that I use to demonstrate that example, and it's so cool to have dealership right at arm's reach that we can go drink that beer that is literally everywhere out here in perfect brewery fresh condition. It's such an awesome treat.
Well, appreciate that, man. It's actually funny because pale ales are sort of sliding out there, and 1500 is not what it was sales-wise a couple years ago, which I find utterly shocking and bullshit because you got all these IPA people out there who don't seem to understand that a fucking pale ale is the baseline style of an IPA. The I's just a tack on.
Yep. We run into that with Stoke.
Yep.
There's so many of us who love hop aroma and hop flavor who just Stoked is what we drink kind of as default throughout the brewery. But I do also think, the perception of value issue. The price difference is never going to be up between a 5% beer and a 7% beer. Somebody who's doing that analysis, and Los Calientes is pretty delicious, but it is a step up in.
There's a little bit more here.
other wrinkle I think is important there, and this was something I had to learn. I come from, Kettle and then Hogs Park area and St. Vincent in between, where we really tried to demonstrate with our selection the full spectrum of beer flavor, color, texture, aroma offered throughout the world. And I was always like, the reason that Americans don't only want to drink one or two is because this is a young beer scene. But I actually had it pointed out to me that the most mature beer scenes in the world settle in on a couple of styles. Like if you go to Bavaria, there's wheat beer and there's lager.
Right.
Drinking traditional beers in England, there's stouts, porters, and pale ales.
Right.
And so IPA just has to be this country's style, and what IPA means may evolve over the years, but it may be that we just drink a shitload of IPA, whatever IPA happens to be in that moment in time.
I want to grab that one a little bit because that's something I've been thinking about. Because we've all just gone through the hazy wave, right? And you noted my tense there, where it was like kind of a past tense situation. 3 years ago, that was like a fucking tidal wave, man. West Coast looked like it was just going to get washed out. Hazy was everything. And you really kind of feel like we're settling back into a situation now where it's like hazy and West. IPA is just IPA. There's the clear ones that are kind of bitter, and there's the cloudy ones that are a little sweeter, but maybe a little less. Well, if nothing else, at least West Coast doesn't feel like it's dying.
Yeah.
Do you share that perception in any way, or am I just like out on an island with that shit?
Well, I can tell you, I hate complimenting Colin McDonald in public, and I know you do too. But there was a lot of pressure at the height of the haze craze for us to start calling our IPAs that appeared hazy IPAs.
Right.
And Colin and Shane were both really adamant that we make HenHouse IPA, and the beer will look, the ingredients in the process, and it's HenHouse IPA. And now I think that's, if we made something that tasted like, trying to think of a real old school West Coast IPA. Maybe we made something that tastes like Blind Pig even, right? Or we'd probably have to let our customers know this is different than what you've come to expect from HenHouse IPA. But anything that falls between a chemtrails, which is all C hops and pretty damn near clear, and certified independent as fuck, which is essentially, not too far from something that like the Alchemist. Our customers have shown that like they mess with this, and they may have a favorite among the HenHouse IPAs. If you love one of them, you're not going to hate any of the other ones, right? And I think there's a lot of foresight into that in doing our IPA program in that way, rather than training the customer to develop a preference, right?
Right.
We're out here and you like hazy, more hazy, and you like that aren't hazy. Really did. I came to appreciate first as a guy was like, God damn it, put hazy on the can. But
sure.
Once I kind of saw what the thinking behind that was, I really came to appreciate it. And it's like, nah, man, we make HenHouse IPA. If you like HenHouse IPAs, you're gonna like it.
Yeah, I think that's where we are now, right? I think IPA now doesn't mean not hazy. It doesn't mean hazy. There's a lot of broadness. Now, I mean, you can still see the rocket ship going off on the whole milkshakey and all that kind of stuff. Can I circle you back since you got a chicken wing in your mouth and I don't, and ask you a question, though? Because you use I know certified independent's a real thing. You were probably somebody in most of your friends' lives who's, that's the beer guy. And, obviously I get to share the same, other than our beer friends. Fuck those people, because, somebody comes up to you and is like, they're into good beer. Probably aren't like deep into good beer, but they're into good beer. And they tell you that they really like Elysian X or Golden Road Y. And you kind of like, oh man, I don't really do Budweiser beer. And they're just like, I just like good beer. And I never really have a script to answer those people. As somebody who gives a fuck about independent as fuck, I don't know how to handle that question because there's a point where, like, am I making obviously I'm not going to give a penny to those people because I know what they do in the market, but that's like that's like deep shit for us as beer people. So I'm curious if you've been confronted with that, and curious if you have a script.
It depends a lot on who I'm talking to, right?
Sure.
But I do think there's a couple of things. I think there is nothing drink or eat that has flavor that is actually separated story. It isn't. You're proud because the food is delicious, but you also love it for all reasons. Probably because you have some sort of right?
Right.
And so I actually answer those differently, probably. The lead, started talking about how influential important Dick Cantwell was and what he's up to now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just be like, there's one set of like moral compromise for somebody who was really important in this industry, wanting to finish getting a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
Then there's like somebody who entered the industry to make $100 million.
Right. Did you just mention St. Archer?
Well, sure. I mean, and like, I'm like, frankly, if you're about making $100 million, like, cool, man. I just don't really want to drink your beer because you're probably going to make decisions informed by the desire to make $100 million.
See, now that is actually something I appreciate, man, because you can really talk about that. Thank you.
And so, like, that doesn't mean your beer's going to be bad, because to make $100 million, the beer's got to be decent. But it means you actually don't give a fuck about me as a consumer, right? Like, and I am something you have to conquer to get to your goal, rather than someone who will be in relationship to you and your brand for a long time, right? So, like, this actually pivots to what I want to talk about in this section, which was to maintain a genuine relationship to our customers when they can't come see us, right? HenHouse is so dependent on people giving an extra shit about what we do, right? It is as easy as I'm trying to make it to get HenHouse beer. It is still easier of a faux craft brand that's owned by. They will make it easier, right?
Yeah, that's what they're in business for.
So I need customers to some importance to going that extra step to get our beers, right? And that's about a genuine connection. And I don't think the best brands in the world, Coca-Cola, Apple had it for a while, but I don't think you can have a sustained, genuine connection to a brand that is not human in some way. That's not human in some scale, right? And so, one I don't want to get into quality. There's a level of subjectivity there, and then all Budweiser has to do is spend enough money to make beer that's even better than yours or mine, right? So I don't want to have the quality conversation. I don't think they've done that yet. To be clear, I will drink your beer and our beer every single day over any one of those zombie brands. But that doesn't mean they couldn't do it. That doesn't mean they couldn't. So for me, I think it's much more about, like, man, it's cool that, like, you can go to the HenHouse Instagram pictures probably of all 50 or 60 of the employees that you're helping put food on the table of when you buy a HenHouse beer. And it matters. Like, if you didn't for enough weeks in a row, we would go out of fucking business. And you can't have that relationship to something that's owned by a hedge fund. Like, you just can't, right? And frankly, they're probably going to put people out of work, even if they're making a shitload of money, because their goal is to make $100 million.
Right. Cool.
So,
No. Are we on break?
You gotta talk. I gotta.
Oh, I gotta talk. I'm enjoying your beer, by the way. Yeah. This blonde ale is really nice. It's very soft. I gave you kind of a crisper, sharper beer. You can see my Flyway taste video.
Yeah, I think Flyway is delicious. What's the fruity hop in there? Is there something Southern Hemp?
Nope, single hop beer, all U.S. Vanguards, which was, as best I can tell, that was part of the U.S. like when they started trying to duplicate noble hops. Started with Mount Hood, went on to Liberty, good hops. Crystal, whatever the fuck you call it. It's that I didn't like very much. Ultra was real nice. I was a Saws derivative, but Vanguard. And I don't think anybody uses Vanguard except maybe Chris Miller up at Berryessa. Otherwise, I think I'm one of the few people who I probably own most of the crop.
Yeah, I can't believe how much fruit you get out of it in this beer.
Right? I mean, I also feel like I get some green tea out of it too, but I just try to sniff your beer. It's like, oh, what's he smelling? It's like, that's not fucking Flyway. Genius.
No, good outlets will give me really good mouths. Shout out to from Craftsman, which is my North Star Mount Hood beer. Will throw like cheap Chinese restaurant gas and green tea. It's such an evocative aroma for me. It's so nice. It's so floral, with a little like background tropicality to it. Really, really cool. And you're right. I haven't drank enough Vanguard to know what to associate with. So you snuck it by me, and I would have not thought you could have gotten that much fruit out of an American Noble. Well,
it's almost all the hops are Whirlpool and dry hop. There's a little bit in bitterness, and I mean, not that Jesus, man, not that beer is low in IBUs or anything, but it's mostly Whirlpool dry hop. We actually,
it works really nicely with the green chilies in this sauce, actually. But
I like this sauce, by the way. It's got like a weird sweetness, and then it's got some kind of spice character in there that's, I don't know, does it taste kind of like Caribbean food to you, maybe?
Absolutely. I should ask, baby, have you tasted Los Calientes? No, it says Serranos. I was going to ask if it's a Caribbean pepper, but it says it's Serranos. And Tomatillos. Tomatillos is where you're getting the fruit.
Well, that's giving you part of that nice tang at least.
Oh, no. And orange habaneros. So that's Caribbean. You're dead on. And apricot. There's apricot.
Ooh. I taste that little back sweetness there, so that's nice. Nice sauce. Cool. Not enough to make me die. We're not dead yet, man. We're ready for the last dab.
Yeah, we're so far they're letting us off a little easy, but I think it's about to get real ugly.
It's going to get real ugly. We have 2 of them.
Great.
Wait, I'm going to do this like Jaws. Dun, dun, dun. Uh-oh, commentator's up.
Oh, that's just great. I wish that we were. As much as I don't do spicy, I do kind of wish that we were doing this with them, simply so that we could enjoy the pain.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I hate spicy food. I cannot handle it, but I understand we can kind of get the characteristics of the hot sauce as well, without having to fully consume all of it.
So listening to the gents talk on that last one, I have a question for you while they get their final wing ready. Sarah was talking about maintaining a genuine relationship to customers, about finding ways to make people give an extra shit about what you do. And I think that since you do social media, HenHouse has such a clear voice on everything that you guys do. You're very sure of your identity. And I want to know, how is it that you feel people react to you? Are you always commenting on things, responding to stuff, trying to keep that genuine connection one-on-one, or what's your theory on that?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons that I really liked getting into marketing and social media at HenHouse, is because they are so authentic, and I can still have that voice of myself, but also I'm allowed to have that HenHouse voice. And I am the one that personally responds to probably 95% of all messages and comments. We try to respond to everything. Sometimes Colin sneaks in there when he's not doing the 3,000 other things that he has to do. And so that's something that I really, really enjoy, is having that, I guess, more Sonoma County energy. And, it would be so much easier. Wouldn't be so much easier, not for me at least, but it would be easy to just have more cut and dry social media. But that's just not who we are, and I'm really liking that.
Do you think people respond better to that?
I think so. I think it makes it more genuine, and it actually, I think, actually feels like there's a person behind everything that we do. It's
because
not just like putting, yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's because it's me. I'm doing it. But I think also having that communication with our customers also shows that we're there for them. Like, we're here for our community, number one, our community and our employees, and that's what we're all about. And I think that really shows. Like, we're not just here to make beer, we're here to like make beer for you.
That's great. I love that when people comment on stuff that we post that's maybe a little more controversial, and they say, like, stay in your lane, you focus on beer. And it's like, we make beer for people, and we care about those people, and we want to take care of those people. So,
and we're also people.
And we also are people. We're real live human beings drinking beer and eating hot wings. Do you think we should check back in with the guys?
Yeah. Oh, and we are having the guys drink Fowl 6, which is the 6th anniversary beer that we've made, and it is an old ale, 11.8%. So it's going to be a really big beer with some really hot sauce, and I'm really excited.
We got to get them to chug it at some point.
Exactly.
All right, round up. Round 3.
Let's go.
All right.
So I'm going to say right off top, I am not chugging this beer for 2 reasons.
All the deck.
One, I have a job and I have to work in the morning. 2, this is my last bottle of this. I love this beer, and this is my only one. This beer, is this the longest name of the Foul Play series, Galooly?
Dude, yes, I'm having a hard time even reconstructing the name because it was like one of those like arrows pointing places projects.
Yeah, I see Foul Play 6, the undiscovered country, the needs of the few, the one, aka Nemo.
Oh no, it's the undiscovered country. Foul Play 6, the undiscovered country, divided by the needs of the few, which are greater than the few, or the needs of the many, which are greater than the few, or the one, aka Neo.
Got it.
We were pretty proud of that. I was like a day's work for both Colin and I, just so you can disdain both of us now.
Yeah, this really feels like Bob, though. I got to tell you, I feel a lot of Bob in this beer. So yeah,
Colin,
you want to tell us about the beer?
Sorry, you talk.
I was just gonna say, do you want to tell us about this beer?
Yes. So we do collab with HenHouse for release during SF Beer Week. And one of our traditions is trying to make the most unsellable style of beer that we can. Like, what do the kids not want? So we've done, Doppeldunkelweizen, Belgian Strong, Old Ale. This is not what your Untapped's blowing up about. So this is an old ale, and we brewed it a long time ago. I don't even remember when we fucking brewed it. And we shoved it into barrels so it could get some more time getting old and stale. And it's going to hopefully be the thing that actually helps my face not melt off when we're ready here to do this last dab situation.
Man, yeah, because I'm not going to be in any condition to speak shortly.
Yes, that's what I'm contemplating here.
I wish to tell you that this beer is delicious, like crazy delicious. I keep it. Yeah, we have a 60-degree cellar under the house, and it came out of there, and it is just round and beautiful and wonderful. I also need to call out my girlfriend Christina, who is preparing the wings today, and I watched her. So she tossed this in the last dab, and then when I went to go get them, watched her use a spoon in the fucking pan.
Nice.
Pick up all the extra sauce on the sides and put it on top.
Oh, thank you, Christina.
If I die, you can't pay rent, baby.
No, it's all good. You can just take his condo. Wow, now we see the plan right here live. All right. So I put a big dab of this stuff like on my plate here, and I'm just going in so I can kind of, because it's kind of thick. Here it comes. All right, people. Okay.
That is no.
Okay.
Woo!
I feel that. Okay. Oh. My wife and daughter are both here eating along with me, and they're both having what looks like mild panic attacks in my kitchen.
Happy Father's Day, by the way, John.
Pardon?
Father's Day. Fuck.
Yeah. Ah! All right. Fuck, man. Go. Oh, man. Oh, the swallow's a thing.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, dude. I got people out in the kitchen going, oh, my God, oh, my God. So, oh, dude. Oh, dear. Whoops.
So, John.
Yep.
Why do you like this?
Why do I like this? I mean, let's be clear. Your endorphins are firing real cool right now, right? I mean, if you've seen the show Hot Ones, you've seen those people at the last wing. They're just like, they're clearly fucking wasted. This is like, this is drug abuse. What are you talking about?
Fair enough. I agree.
Christ on a cracker, man.
Woo!
So you got the hat off. Good work. That's one thing. That's the big mistake I see on that hot sauce show, man. Like, people come in on their fucking hoodies and about 6 hot sauces in, they're like, I got to take that off. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm going to get hot.
Speaking with
So how's COVID treating you, man?
Well, honestly, if I had it, I just killed it.
Yeah. No, see? It's not like hydroxychloroquine. It's fucking hot sauce, people. All right, I'm going to chug this.
Woo!
All right, straight to the neck on that. All right, I got a second wing here. Holy crap.
This is really hot.
This is stupid hot. But it's at least got flavor. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Oh, man. Oh, God, dude.
Oh, my God. I don't want to go back. I have a second wing. I don't want to do it.
No, I'm really scared, too. Look, I'm just staring at mine. Fuck. All right, bye. I was stuffy earlier. That's been alleviated. Wow. So, man, I expected this level of quiet. Oh, you're back to the flyway. Screw you, man.
Flyway.
Careful around the eyes. Oh, God.
It's super bizarre. It's only in my throat. Like, when I'm eating, it doesn't feel that bad. And then you swallow, and it is incredibly hot.
It's pretty wild, dude.
Yeah. It's like it's where it touches. My lips are messed up.
So, you've been pepper sprayed before.
I have.
I, too, have been pepper sprayed. This is not an entirely different experience.
Yeah, but I do that in the name of like social justice and shit. I'm just doing this for y'all assholes' entertainment.
I know, but we're good people, man. We're good people. We're entertaining the peoples. We're engaging our customers, Sam.
Damn right.
Who really hate us and want to make us do terrible things. What, do we have to brand ourselves next time?
Do this for you. Mr. Coors won't do this to himself for you.
No,
Mr.
right.
Frito won't do this for you.
Can someone get me a blonde?
whatever you want. Why are you doing this to us?
I don't know. I blame Chelsea and Anna. They seem so sweet in those breaks, but they're really terrible, mean people.
Those watching, you don't know this, but we can see them, and they're just laughing their ass off in these little circles on my screen right now.
Oh, I see how it is.
Middle fingers right now.
I think they're chanting death to patriarchy right now. Good for them.
Victory. Y'all won. This is all it takes.
Yeah, we're stupider than you are, so. Yeah. Holy Christ on a bucket. There's some chance my parents are watching this, so this is probably bad, but.
John, I got to tell you, I don't think this is as bad as the last wing at Triple Rock.
That was fucking a thing, dude. Everybody shut up.
I went like Homer Simpson, and I had a Johnny Cash. I had a Johnny Cash Coyote fucking trip.
Oh. How do they do this on this show? Have you seen the show?
Yeah, I have seen the show, man.
Do you see Charlize Theron just power through this wing? I'm scared of that woman.
She ate this?
Holy poop.
Maybe Charlize Theron one of these was fun.
I just ate one and I'm immediately.
My girlfriend just in and was like, I just ate one and I'm fine.
But I also dipped it in cream.
Jesus Christ.
But you have a lot of meat on them.
Would blue cheese help? Like if we had blue cheese or like ice?
Oh.
Ice, yeah. Ice really helps.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody dip their face in ice. I saw, yeah, Billie Eilish like put her whole like head in ice.
John, are you like a Hot Ones completist? Have you seen every episode of Hot Ones?
No, but we're slowly making our way through. It's amazing the people they get on that show. I mean, really, Billie Eilish. We watched Joel Embiid last night.
Oh, he's funny. I bet you that was good.
No, he was real good. Oh God, dude. Okay. So tell me why you like Gil so much.
A lot of questioning for this round was going to be about why like those of us who take food and beverage or music really seriously have the capacity to perceive subtlety at a level that most can't. Why do I turn my stereo up as loud as it'll go?
Okay.
Why do I like always want the spiciest food? A drink to excess? Like, what is the association between loving something and doing too goddamn much of it?
Well, okay, well, I thought about this because, like, I roast my own coffee at home, and I do that because I'm fucking into coffee. So, why not get the absolute freshest coffee I can? It's those little increments at the very end there that take you from a B+ to an A-, because that's the biggest jump in the fucking industry, right? And it's just that little bit more of a care. Like, I've got my produce from the farmer's market. It was harvested yesterday. Was that much better than something that was harvested 3 days ago? Not that much, but that last little increment is a real thing. God, dude.
Yeah, this one keeps going.
Yeah. There's no stop here, man.
So the piece that I wanted to bring to that then is, like, I see you out at concerts. I see you out at, like, new ambitious restaurants that are trying crazy shit.
You too.
For the last like 3 or 4 months, that the venues where we typically get that A+ experience, right? That person who's really going for it.
Yep.
Have been taken away from us. So how are you replacing that in your life?
I had 13 concerts starting like March 7th, postpone or cancel, mostly just postpone so they could just leave it indefinite. I haven't replaced it. I will play loud music around the house. I've started making Spotify playlists just to entertain myself. But honestly, that's been the worst. The restaurant thing I've been able to replace by just like getting into some hardcore home cooking. I'm not afraid to get in the kitchen and do wild shit. I actually have a kilogram of fucking little tiny sugar plums, which are like as big as fucking cherry tomatoes. I've got to seed every one of them. I'm going to lacto ferment them because then apparently they become an ingredient in other stuff. You could dry the skin and turn it into a powder and use it as a rub, which I think is just like bougie as shit. But also that's how I'm replacing it. So I'm at least like I like that. I like taking control of to that extent. But I also when I turned 50, I went to the French Laundry, and that was a fucking amazing experience. And I can't replicate that.
Right. Yeah, and there's something about like deferring that expertise to somebody else, right? Like somebody else who like you and I, and you to extent that I don't, but like know beer really, really well to a deep level. But then like you say, going to the coffee experience with that person who has dedicated their life to that, or the live jazz experience to the person who dedicated their life to that. And so, yeah, I'm wondering about the dulling of all of our lives when you can bring as much of that exuberance and as much of that color to your home, but there's no way you're going to be the person capable of that highly rarefied experience in all things, and
right. But
do
pursuing what you can, that's at least something that gives me some amount of pleasure over this whole fucking insanity, which is nowhere close to done. The people who think this shit's done are fucking high on crack.
That's another, I can't think about Colin, but right when this started, he came to me and was like, what, like, I need you to show me how we like hit sales goals for this year without selling any draft beer. And he said that to me in March.
Yep.
And so that was really prescient again. Like, hopefully it won't be that bad, but he was like, it could be that bad, and we need to know how we keep people employed if that's the reality. So we're doing all kinds of crazy shit. We're taking beer to Santa Cruz. We're taking beer to the South Bay where we never have. We're sending beer to LA for the first time into this month.
You have to.
Yeah. And we've got some cool partners for that shit too, so I'm excited about it. But we had to get way more creative.
I think I'm over the mountain there, man. I finally like back on the backside of Mount Everest. I can almost think now. This camera.
Tell the people, would you cook them? Want another one?
Yes, I'm gonna eat number 3. Ooh, it's inundated.
You're gonna do another one?
Yes, I'm being tortured by my family for Father's Day.
Damn. I am not the man John Galuli is, nor do I desire to be.
Aw.
I'm drinking water. Throwing it out.
I switched back down to the blonde. That's a lovely beer, by the way. Tell me about it.
The blonde. So Best Life. I really, really wanted us to have a Just Give Me a Beer, man. And it's Sterling and Centennial. It's some cool ingredients, but really, like, it's just taking the amount of care that we take for everything we do into a beer that you don't have to think that much about. So, like, we call it extraordinary everyday beer. The idea is that if you make every day extraordinary, you're living your best life. I'm pretty proud of where it's at right now, and I drink a ton of that beer. And
props to whoever's behind this thing, man. Fucking fantastic beer.
Awesome. And if we're talking about a world without Budweiser, we need to make just beers, right? Like, if we're talking about a world where everybody only drinks stuff that's made by people whose names they know, all of our breweries need to be making a Just Give Me a Beer. And it requires some level of a suspension of ego. And but I love the fact that we kind of like put as much conceptual thought into our Just Give Me a Beer as we do to our like tasting room only IPAs, right?
So when I was at Dogfish Head, we made this beer just for the pubs called Lawnmower Light. And the staff bitched about it because it's fucking Dogfish Head. And we make like big, crazy, wild beers. And I was like, look, If you can't fucking knock out this beer perfect, you don't have any business making 90-minute IPA.
Yeah.
That's reality.
Yeah. No, and I really appreciate beers like that and beers that recognize, like, so Highland Park has Refresh.
Yep. So much
Highland
better
Park,
than Timbo.
and they don't need that beer, right? But it's still the best-selling beer at least a couple years ago when I was down there for LA Beer Week. It was still the best-selling beer at the Hermosillo where they started, because when they opened, they were in Highland Park, and that wasn't like a super sophisticated craft brewery area. They had dope food, so people were just coming in, and they're like, "We need to make a Just Give Me a Beer beer," and it's an excellent Just Give Me a Beer beer. And then the one for me, St. Arnold Lawnmower. Like St. Arnold Lawnmower, whenever I happen to be in Texas or anywhere near there, I'm so pleased that it's there. And like, you want to talk about like,
it's like Spotted Cow.
Yeah, exactly. A concept like to fruition, like Lawnmower conveys everything you need to fucking know about that beer.
Yep.
Right? It's a lawnmower beer. I get that. I got it. I would like one of those. And then you drink it and it's delicious. And so that's our North Star for Best Life, right? Like, beers like that now, there's no adjuncts in Best Life, but that's just like a really fun thing to think. What?
Ooh, it's a wrap up. Well, that was a fantastic fucking hot wing. Happy to see you go one shirt down and no hat.
Yeah, you're lucky I have clothes on, man.
I was looking forward to nipples.
Wow. Episode title.
It's Father's Day.
Jesus Christ, Santa, cut me off.
You guys are ridiculous.
No, we're not.
I'm really excited now that we didn't have to do this. After
Oh my God, no. There's no way I could have done that.
No, that was like the roller coaster of truth.
Sayer, how many did you eat? You had 2 or 1?
You talking to me?
Yeah, you had 2 or 1. I know John had 3.
I had 1.6.
Fair enough.
My girlfriend was walking in berating me the entire time for not having the second one. But the second one's the one that she put the thing on.
She put all the sauce on.
Well, this was really fun, you guys. I enjoyed watching it. I hope that Anna, you enjoyed watching, and Gents, you enjoyed participating, and I hope everyone watching at home also enjoyed. Any final words from anyone?
Drink independent beer.
Drink independent beer, and thank you guys for giving a shit about us, man. And like, if you enjoy stuff like this, check out our Instagram. I really appreciate what Bob is doing every day at 5 o'clock on our Instagram feed. What my guy Wes is doing every day at 7 o'clock on our Instagram feed. So we're trying to find virtual venues for people to drink beer together, because I think it's really important that people drink beer together. So
we also do things.
Yeah.
I think on that note, shall we all finish what we're drinking? Chug ourselves out?
We're gonna chug it out.
Beer after the water.
Yep.
You shut up.
Bye.